You know that feeling, right? When everything's just working out, you're successful, things are good.
Absolutely. It's a great place to be.
But have you ever thought that maybe those moments, those times of strength, might actually hold unexpected challenges down the line?
It's an interesting thought.
Yeah. And today we're going to do a deep dive into exactly that.
Mm.
We're looking at a story from the Bible from 2 Chronicles Chapter 12.
Hmm.
And it's got some, well, surprisingly relevant stuff for us today.
It really does. We're talking about King Rehoboam of Judah. He'd got his kingdom sorted, felt pretty strong.
Right.
And then, boom, this massive invasion, King Shishak of Egypt.
And the army was huge, wasn't it?
Oh, enormous. The text says 1,200 chariots, 60,000 horsemen, and, well, basically countless foot soldiers.
Wow. So you immediately wonder, how does a kingdom that seems so secure suddenly face that?
Exactly. And that question opens up these big themes we'll explore.
Like how success can make us drift, maybe forget what's important.
Yeah, that complacency. And then the role of consequences, are they just punishment or something more?
And humility, too. We see that play a big part.
A huge part. Plus, this idea of, what's real versus what just looks good on the outside.
The difference between saying sorry because you got caught and actually fundamentally changing.
That's a key one. True devotion versus just temporary regret.
So our mission today is really to see how this ancient account gives us practical insights, maybe even strengthens our own faith walk.
Let's dig in.
Okay, so where does it start?
Well, 2 Chronicles 12, verse 1, it kind of lays it out starkly. It says, basically, once Rehoboam felt established and strong, he abandoned God's law. And it wasn't just him.
Right, it says all Israel with him.
Exactly. The strength and the turning away happened right next to each other. It makes you think, doesn't it?
Right.
How can our strengths, if we're not careful, lead us off track?
It's so easy to do. Things are going well, you relax a bit, maybe let go of the very things that got you there. You start thinking, I've got this, and rely less on your faith or your core values, whatever grounds you.
That sense of independence kicks in.
Yeah. And God or those foundational beliefs get pushed to the side a little.
But maybe true strength isn't about not needing anything. Maybe it's about understanding where that strength actually comes from and leaning into it more.
Deepening the dependence, not ditching it.
Precisely. So Rehoboam here is a bit of a warning sign for us. Success shouldn't dilute our foundation.
Okay, so he turns away, the people follow. Then what? Shishak arrives.
Yes, enter Shishak and this massive army, and then the prophet Shemaiah shows up in verse 5.
What did he say?
He delivers a message from God. You abandoned me, so I have abandoned you to the hand of Shishak.
Oof, that sounds harsh.
It does, but is it just about punishment, or is it more like God allowing the consequences of their actions to unfold?
Like a course correction?
Exactly. Maybe not abandonment in the final sense, but allowing this difficulty to sort of wake them up.
Yeah, that makes sense. When we face tough times, maybe it's worth asking, is this a prompt, a nudge to reevaluate where I'm headed?
It's a powerful question for all of us listening. Is this difficulty a wake-up call to get back to what truly matters?
So how do Rehoboam and the leaders react to this, to Shemaiah's message?
Well, this is crucial. Verse 6 tells us they humbled themselves. The princes and the king, they actually said, the Lord is righteous.
Wow, quite a turnaround from feeling strong and abandoning God's law.
A complete turnaround. They acknowledge their part in it, acknowledge God's justice.
And does that change anything?
Immediately. Verse 7 shows God's response to their humility. He sees it and says he won't destroy them completely.
Yeah.
He'll grant them some deliverance, lessen his wrath. Shishak will still have an impact, but it may be total destruction.
So humility makes a tangible difference.
A huge difference. It demonstrates that power, doesn't it? Not groveling, but genuine recognition of reality, a willingness to pivot.
And that's so relevant for us, right?
Yeah.
Personal mistakes, leadership errors, relationship issues. That act of genuinely humbling ourselves, taking responsibility, it can actually open the way for things to get better, prevent worse outcomes.
Absolutely. It's a pathway to restoration.
Okay, so Shishak invades, but doesn't destroy Jerusalem. What happens after?
Well, Shishak does make off with a lot. Verse 9 lists the treasures from the temple, from the royal palace, everything.
Including something specific, right? The shields.
Yes, Solomon's gold shields. These were symbols of God's blessing and the kingdom's glory under Solomon. Shishak takes them.
And Rehoboam replaces them.
He does, but he replaces them with shields made of bronze.
Gold replaced with bronze. That feels significant.
Highly symbolic. Bronze is functional, sure, but it's not gold. It represents a definite step down, a loss of glory, a loss of substance.
It's like trying to keep up appearances, maybe.
You could see it that way. Maintaining the form of royalty and defense, but the true value, the original glory, is gone.
It makes you think about our own lives. Do we ever try to patch over an inner decline, maybe spiritual, moral, with things that just look good on the outside?
Putting a shine on things while the core isn't quite right.
Yeah. Focusing on the external impression rather than the internal reality, the true character.
And that connects directly to how the chapter sums up Rehoboam's reign.
How does it end?
Verse 14 gives this final verdict. And he did evil, for he did not set his heart to seek the Lord.
Wait, even after humbling himself during the invasion.
Even after that, it highlights this critical difference, doesn't it?
Between what? Remorse and real change.
Exactly. Between feeling bad because you're in a crisis and having a consistent, deeply rooted commitment to seeking God. His humility was perhaps situational.
It didn't lead to a lasting change of heart, a full reorientation.
Apparently not. It seems his heart wasn't fixed on seeking the Lord as a way of life.
That's a challenging thought.
Yeah.
True faith isn't just an emergency response system.
Right. It's about that ongoing relationship, that consistent seeking day in and day out, good times and bad.
So pulling this all together, what does this story offer us for strengthening our faith today?
Well, first, I think it shows God's character. He's faithful even when people wander, and he uses consequences not just to punish, but often to redirect, to correct out of love.
Okay.
And second, it just powerfully illustrates the impact of humility.
Yeah.
How it opens the door to mercy, to a different outcome.
We're recognizing those patterns, God's correction, the power of humility helps us make sense of our own lives, our own challenges.
I think so. It gives us a framework. It reminds us that God's nature, his justice, his mercy, his desire for connection with us, it doesn't change.
So this deep dive into 2 Chronicles 12, it really speaks to that timeless struggle, doesn't it? Getting comfortable in success, forgetting our foundation. It really drives home how important it is to stay grounded, especially when things are going well. And it shows the incredible power of humility when we mess up.
And that true strength, real substance, it's about the heart.
Yeah.
About that consistent seeking of God, not just outward appearances.
So maybe a final thought for you listening. Where in your life right now might you feel that pull towards complacency? Because things are good. Is there a drift happening?
Or conversely, where are you facing a challenge that might actually be an opportunity? An opportunity to embrace humility, to turn back.
How can Rehoboam's story, both the failures and the moments of turning, maybe inform how you navigate things right now?
It's definitely a story worth reflecting on. It has so much to say, even thousands of years later, about deepening that relationship with God.